All right, I got my first real NFL mock draft of the year, my 1.0. Let me know if you want me to do a 2.0 next week. I know it's late April, but here I am. Let's do this thing. Now, to be clear, I am not a defensive scout. I just want to put that statement out there, okay? I scout offensive players mostly for dynasty purposes. However, I do think I have enough knowledge about these players to make some of these decisions. Now, I am making this mock draft. I am making these decisions based off of if I was the GM of these NFL teams. I am not making these decisions based off of dynasty football and where I prefer people to land. I am playing as if I'm every GM and what pick I think makes the most sense for my team long term. So at the 101, Jacksonville Jaguars, most people are going to tell you Aiden Hutchinson. I think that makes a ton of sense. I really do think that makes a lot of sense. However, what if I am the GM of Jacksonville? I know we signed Brandon Sheriff. I know we franchise tagged Cam Robinson, even though he's not the answer at that position. What really matters for this franchise, right? Like, what is the only thing that matters at all this year? Showing that Trevor Lawrence has improved, showing that he can be a franchise quarterback. So does Aiden Hutchinson really help Trevor Lawrence's development? No, it doesn't. It makes our defense better for sure, but I want to do everything I can if I'm the GM there in Jacksonville to surround Trevor Lawrence with exactly what he needs to succeed, to take that next step. I don't think Cam Robinson is a long-term answer, so we'd have to address that anyway after this year. And I think there are some very elite, talented offensive linemen at the top of this class. So I'm not going Aiden Hutchinson. I am going Evan Neal. I know a lot of people either have Icky or Evan Neal as their one. I prefer Evan Neal. I understand why some people say Icky. There might be more long-term upside there, but he is one mammoth of a man. So I'm taking him there to be my future left tackle. Now, ideally, the Jags would want to trade back, but I don't think anyone wants to trade with him to get to that #1 spot in this year's class. So Aiden Hutchinson falls exactly where MCDC wants him to, and he stays in the state of Michigan. Detroit fans, you're probably cheering about this. This is best case scenario for you. And honestly, if I am a Jags fan, I think I do want offensive line help still. That's just what I would do if I was a GM. So now we got the Houston Texans on the clock. What are they going to do? They keep saying that Davis Mills, they're going to give him the full opportunity to prove himself. In my mind, I have to be realistic if I'm the Texans GM. We're going to be a bad team this year. We're in the AFC. We are by far one of the worst teams in the AFC outside of the Jags. We're probably going to have a top 5 pick next year. So why don't we really find out if Davis Mills is the answer? Can he truly be our franchise quarterback? So for me, improve the offensive line. We're going Ike Ekwonu here. I think both of these tackles are very good. These two guys are in a class of their own, in my opinion, in this class. So I'm going to take Icky. He can absolutely help us. He can play right tackle, left tackle. He can play guard, wherever we want to put him there. I think it's a great pick for our franchise, a great building block for us. Now the Jets are on the clock here with the 4th pick. They can go a lot of different ways. I have seen wide receiver be the pick multiple different times. I am of the belief that there are many good wide receivers in this class, but I don't think that I want to pass on Sauce Gardner here. So if I'm the Jets GM, our secondary was terrible. Bryce Hall was good, but he's more of a secondary cornerback. You don't want him to be your alpha on this team. I know they addressed the position in free agency, but I don't think that you can pass up on Sauce Gardner here, because Sauce Gardner is not getting back to you at the 10th pick. He's just not going to be there. That's not realistic. So you take the best cornerback in the draft, and then we can maybe see if there's a wide receiver on the board there at the 10 spot. You could go offensive line, but if this is how the draft starts, you don't want to reach for an offensive lineman there. The Giants are on the clock here at the 5 spot. Another spot that really would be an ideal trade down if there's a team that wants to jump Carolina for a quarterback. I just don't think a team is going to be willing to do that in this year's draft with the unknowns at quarterback. So I do think the Giants are going to end up having to make this pick. Now, ideally for New York, there would have been one of these tackles on the board. Now that they're not on the board, I do think we take the best player available. okay? And it's a huge need for us at the edge position. That is Kayvon Thibodeau. I know that there's a lot of people who are low on Thibodeau. For me, I just see it as other teams who are bringing down his value because they want him later on. I mean, from a talent perspective, he could be the best talent in this class. Let's be honest. I know what's happened off the field. We've seen a lot of very talented players have off the field things where their ego is too big or they care too much about other things. But at the end of the day, if they perform on the field, that's what really, really matters. And yeah, show me one defensive player in the Pac-12 who hasn't taken plays off. Do you know how torn apart Pac-12 defenses get? Show me another player in the Pac-12 that's on defense that hasn't taken a playoff. So here's the Carolina Panthers, another team that I think would like to trade down. But again, no one really wants to trade up with them. Are they going to go quarterback? Maybe, but what would I do if I was the GM? Do I think that Kenny Pickett, because I think that's who I've heard the most, is he really going to improve my team to the point where we are a playoff team next year? Is he better than Sam Darnold? Does he have a higher upside than Sam Darnold? I don't know. So if I am the GM, and again, Matt Rule probably is going to go quarterback here, but if I am the GM, what's a better long-term piece for me? And that's Charles Cross. This offensive line was second to worst last year, according to PFF. So let's improve the offensive line. And if we find a quarterback that we like in the second round, we can trade up, maybe get. Otherwise, let's just stick with Darnold. He was 3-1 with CMC there and healthy. So, and it's okay if we're bad next year. There's a lot of good quarterbacks next year. Let's not reach for a quarterback here. So the Giants are on the clock here. And I've heard a lot of people talk about wide receiver. I don't think wide receiver makes a ton of sense for them. They just went wide receiver last year. They gave Kenny Golladay a lot of money. And I'm tempted to go Malik Willis because I think that's actually a possibility. But I'm not going to do that here. Okay. So we went Kayvon Thibodeau at the 5 spot. And here we are. Kyle Hamilton is staring at us. A lot of people don't like Kyle Hamilton, but I think we need to improve this secondary. We keep hearing rumors that Bradbury, they want to get rid of his contract. Is that going to happen? I don't know. But at this point, take the best available player on. And for me, the best available player on the board is Kyle Hamilton. So Kyle Hamilton lands with the New York Giants. Now the Atlanta Falcons are on the clock. Now, do they go quarterback here? If I'm the GM, no. I'm not going quarterback with the 8th overall pick because then I'm going to bring in Malik Willis and he's going to be throwing not to Kyle Pitts because Kyle Pitts is going to be doubled. He's going to be throwing to Olamide Zaccheaus. That's who's going to be open. And I'm not going to be able to properly develop that quarterback. So when I look at the board, it's either wide receiver or it's edge. Okay, Jermaine Johnson is still here. Trayvon Walker is still here. I think the pick should be wide receiver. However, I'm thinking we might want to address that in the second round because Trayvon Walker has fallen to us here at the 8th pick. A lot of people have him in the top 3. I don't have him going that high, but I think this would be a good spot for him. This is where I'm comfortable with him. In his 3-year career, 9 sacks. Come on, I know the athleticism is there, but can he really develop that into production? Here at the 8th pick, I'm much more comfortable with it. And now the Seattle Seahawks are on the clock. I have said this before in one of our landing spot videos, but I think this is a good spot for Malik Willis. Think about it. Russell Wilson probably meant more to this city as an athlete than any other athlete in their history. Who meant more to Seattle than Russell Wilson as a pro athlete? Maybe Kenny Griffin? I don't think so, though. Ken Griffey, excuse me. So the conversation in Seattle goes from, man, I can't believe we lost Russell. Man, is DK going to be traded to, oh my goodness, I cannot wait to see what Malik Willis and DK Metcalf look like on the field together. Hopefully we can address the offensive line in the second round. But this is an exciting new era for this franchise. We don't need to wait an entire year plus and figure out what we already know, which is Drew Lock is not the guy. So I like this pick. I think it makes a lot of sense for a team that's already used a improvising quarterback really, really well. So now the Jets are back on the clock, and in this mock, there is no wide receiver off the board just yet. Now, if I am the GM of the New York Football Jets, I'm taking my wide receiver 1 in the class, and that is Jameson Williams. A lot of people are not going to like this, but if I truly want a wide receiver that can win almost any way I want him to in the modern day game, then I am going to be drafting Jameson Williams. He is my wide receiver 1 in the class. The combination of speed, athleticism, release off of the line, ability to separate. He's actually a really good route runner. I compared him a little bit to Hollywood Brown and Jerry Jeudy. I think he can absolutely bring a different dimension to this team. I've seen Garrett Wilson go here, but to me, Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore are too similar of players. Now, I could see Drake London going here, but I do have questions about Drake London in the NFL. So for me, Jameson Williams is a pick, and man, if I'm Zach Wilson, I'm feeling great about that selection right there. So we got Sauce Gardner, Jameson Williams. We're going to believe that Mekhi Becton is going to be able to recover and prove himself. And now the Washington football team are on the clock. All right. Now, I'm a Washington fan, so I'm hoping that Kyle Hamilton falls here. In this mock, he did not. Do I want to go wide receiver? Maybe. I've thought about that in the past. However, I don't think it's a terrible spot for us. With Terry, Curtis Samuel, I do think he's a better player than what we saw. De'Ami Brown, we just drafted last year. There's a lot of really good wide receivers still in this wide receiver room. So I'm going to go Derek Stingley. Loved what he did on his pro day. He looked like the injury wasn't really impacting him at all. So I'm going to go Derek Stingley here and prove that secondary and just keep building on my strengths, which is my defense. Maybe we can try and go get a wide receiver in the second round of this draft. And by the way, if the draft falls like this, then maybe we're encouraged that there will be wide receivers on the board in the second round that we like. Derek Stingley, if he was healthy, and if we got the 2019 version, we keep hearing this, but truly, if we get the 2019 version, he's the best player in this class. No questions asked. There are those questions that we need to answer, though. So for the Vikings, this is worst case scenario, right? Derek Stingley is exactly who they really wanted on this team. With him off the board, I think they just go best player available. And I think Jermaine Johnson makes a lot of sense here. I think Garrett Wilson makes a lot of sense here. A lot of people haven't been talking about that, but Adam Thielen isn't getting any younger, guys. I believe he's 31. He's going to turn 32. Already had some injury issues. So would it make sense to bring in Garrett Wilson? He's a really ideal piece for this Minnesota Vikings offense. Think about it. Who did they just lose? Stephon Diggs. We've heard a lot of comparisons about Garrett Wilson to Stephon Diggs. So I think this makes a lot more sense, but I don't think I'm doing it if I'm a GM. I think I'm going Jermaine Johnson here because we do need help on the defensive side of the ball. We lost a lot of games due to that defense. So let's improve somewhere. And now the Houston Texans are on the clock. What did I say at the third pick? I said, if this year is truly about Davis Mills, because we're going to be a bad team. If we truly want to see what Davis Mills has, let's give him everything that he needs. So we just re-signed Brandon Cooks. We improved the offensive line. And now we can go get a big body wide receiver in Drake London. Welcome Drake London to the team. You can play the outside. I know Nico Collins is there. I've said this very vocally. I don't think Nico Collins is the answer at that position. I think he's more of a wide receiver 3, which he will now fit into that role really well. So let's see what we got with Davis Mills. And now the Baltimore Ravens are on the clock. Jordan Davis is there. I don't think the gap between Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt is all that large. I know a lot of people do think that that gap is quite big. I am not one of those people. But I think we're probably betting on the upside here. With the 14th pick, we need something in the middle of that defensive line to help us. So let's go Jordan Davis. Now we've got the first Eagles pick. So what do I do with this first Eagles pick? Do I go defensive? Do I go ahead and grab my wide receiver? I think if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, I do want to put more weapons around Jalen Hurts. And while I don't believe in Jalen Hurts, let's give him every reason to prove me wrong, right? if we put Garrett Wilson on this team, you got Garrett Wilson, Devonta Smith, all those running backs. Now we truly can see if Jalen Hurts can be the quarterback of our future. And if he's not, we have enough capital next year to make that move. And whoever that quarterback is that's coming into this team is going to have two really good wide receivers to grow with. So now, the Saints' first pick. I keep asking myself why they would make this move. And I still don't fully understand exactly why they made this move. I think they got taken for a ride with the value that they gave up to move up. But here we are. So I'm looking at the Los Angeles Chargers right behind me. And I'm looking in between the Chargers, the Eagles, and then I have my next pick. Do any of these teams feel like they're going to take a quarterback? No. So why don't I go ahead and address the offensive line? I'm going to grab Trevor Penning here and try and beef up that offensive line after we lost a little bit in free agency. And now the Los Angeles Chargers are on the clock. What can they do here? Is there any offensive linemen that we really like enough? Linderbaum doesn't make sense. Kenyon Green, I think it's a little bit too early for us here to go Kenyon Green. So I've said this before, but why don't we build on our strengths? I know that we currently have Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. That's really our core. Josh Palmer is a good player as well. But Keenan isn't getting any younger. And we need to keep putting pieces around Justin Herbert to continually allow him to grow. We don't want to be in a place where Keenan has finally hit that peak, and then we need to address it. We want to continue to build on the strengths, especially in an AFC West conference that is going to be in shootouts. So let's go ahead and grab Chris Olave here, wide receiver out of Ohio State. And our offensive line, maybe we can try and find someone in the second round as well. We want to get the best value for this pick, and I do like Olave there. Great separator, and he can become an even better route runner learning under Keenan Allen. So I think that makes a lot of sense for us. I like that move. Now the Eagles are back on the clock. We went Garrett Wilson with our first pick, and we have to go defense here. We have to go defense. I think this is where we see the first linebacker off the board, and I do think it is Devin Lloyd. I think the combination of size, strength, and speed, I think he makes a lot of sense for us. If they don't go linebacker, I'm not surprised because they don't typically do that, but it's the most obvious need with the most obvious player on the board to fill that need. And now the Saints are on the clock here with the 19th pick. I keep hearing rumors that they think they're ready to compete with Jameis Winston. Now, could that be lip service? I think so. I think if I am the New Orleans Saints, I think I've seen enough from Jameis to say he's a good quarterback, but I don't know if he's a quarterback of our future. I don't think he is that quarterback. So why did we trade up? Maybe to grab the offensive lineman we needed, then to draft the quarterback of our future. And that is Kenny Pickett in this scenario. He lands in New Orleans. We get him right before the Steelers are on the board, who maybe they would have considered him, maybe they wouldn't have. But I think this makes a lot of sense for the future. New head coach, Sean Payton is gone. Let's start a brand new era. We didn't give Jameis enough money to really strap us down. So I like this pick here, Kenny Pickett going to New Orleans. Ideally, we would have been able to draft a wide receiver. Maybe you can swap the Trevor Penning and Olave picks. Do you know what I mean? 16 to 17. I wouldn't be upset, but let's go ahead and continue to build around that offensive line, and we get the quarterback of our future. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are now on the clock, and what do we need in Pittsburgh? I keep seeing people mock wide receivers here. I think that's a terrible idea. We've already got Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool, as well as Pat Freiermuth. I think wide receiver makes no sense here. With Najee Harris in that backfield, as someone who owned him in Dynasty, I'm sick and tired of watching Najee Harris carry the ball for 1 yard. And then once every 10 carries, he runs for 10 to 15 yards. Let's improve that offensive line that was bottom half of the league last year. And let's bring in what I think is the best offensive lineman on the board here, and that is Kenyon Green. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. If you want to say Well, Linderbaum, I can't really consider him outside of center at this point. But if you want to say Zion Johnson, I'm not upset at you, but I think Kenyon Green makes the most sense here. And now we see the New England Patriots on the clock. And here's the deal. I know that we lost a cornerback, so that's something that we can address. I know that we signed Devontae Parker. So because of that Devontae Parker trade, I'm feeling like we're probably not going to address that in the first round. Do I think that's the right move? No. But maybe I need to think of a more broader sense of what does my team really need? And I think we need a cornerback. And Trent McDuffie is the best cornerback I see on the board at this point. I know there's question marks around his arm length, but the tape speaks volumes. So I'm going to take him here and believe that I can turn him into the next elite cornerback in that New England Patriots system. Now the Packers are on the clock here. There's no way we can not take wide receiver. There's no way. Sammy Watkins, that's a joke. That's not the answer for me. So for me, what wide receiver makes the most sense? That's still on the board. And I know a lot of people are up and down on this player, but it's Treylon Burks for me. I think Treylon Burks makes the most sense. Olave would have been ideal, but Olave's not there, and we need to address the position. Olave would have been most ideal if you consider Aaron Rodgers. He's very much needs to trust someone. He needs someone to be able to create separation. He needs a smart player, and they could get on the same page really easily. But now Treylon Burks is here, a big body. He can continue to learn with Aaron Rodgers, and we can put him all over the field. We haven't had a weapon just like this in quite some time in Green Bay. So let's go ahead and get Treylon Burks on the team. And now the Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. You can go in so many different ways here. Truly, so many different ways. I don't think wide receiver is off the table. I don't think linebacker's off the table, even though they went linebacker recently. I don't think cornerback is off the table. Offensive line. I'm saying the word table a lot. But for me, I'm going to go Andrew Booth here. I'm going to try and improve that secondary. And by the way, don't be surprised if Arizona is a much worse team next year. They lost a lot of good pieces in free agency. So we just need to improve this team with the best player on the board. And I guess you could say Devontae Wyatt might be there, but I don't think that's as big of a need for us. Now the Cowboys are on the clock. Will they go wide receiver? It wouldn't surprise me. But at this point, with George Karlaftis on the board, he is kind of in a tier for me where the tier drops for the next edge rushers. So I'm going to go ahead and grab George Karlaftis here. They need to get younger there on their defensive line, so I think this helps us a lot. Now the Buffalo Bills are on the clock. Buffalo Bills can go in many different ways here. Wouldn't surprise me if we went wide receiver. Wouldn't surprise me if we went offensive line. I think cornerback makes sense. I think safety makes a lot of sense. But if I am, and I know this might be my dynasty football coming out a little bit, but if I'm the Bills, I feel like really confident in a lot of places. The only place that I can really point to that I don't have a ton of confidence in is running back. And for me, the best running back in this class is Breece Hall. I think he's probably the most likely running back to go in the first round. I think it makes a lot of sense for our team. You don't really want to draft a running back in the first round. However, I mean, it is the biggest weakness, in my opinion, on this team. If you look at, we don't have a true game-breaking running back. This absolutely helps our offense. It takes more pressure off of Josh Allen. Hopefully, he doesn't have to run as much and put himself in danger. And in the playoffs, when we need to be able to run the ball, Breece Hall is going to help us do that. And he can play every down if we need him to. Now the Tennessee Titans are on the clock. Can they go wide receiver? Maybe, but we just got Bobby Trees. Should we go offensive lineman? I think that makes a lot of sense. Linebacker could make a lot of sense. So for me, I think linebacker is where I'm going to go here. Don't be surprised if we see Desmond Ridder off the board, though. Don't be surprised by that. Because this team, I don't know how much they really believe in Ryan Tannehill. I just have questions if they really believe in him. So I'm going to go Nakobe Dean here out of Georgia. He's going to fill a real need for us. Now, the Bucks are on the clock. I think they're another team like Buffalo where they're set in a lot of different areas. I keep hearing people say wide receiver. I'm not sure that wide receiver makes all that much sense for them. They're pretty good on the defensive line. We could probably see Devontae Wyatt go off the board here. We could see that, but I'm not sure that that's the biggest need for them. How about Daxton Hill, safety out of Michigan? We feel a very logistic need. We got worse in secondary this offseason. Let's get a little bit better throughout the draft. And here we have the Packers back on the board, and this is the ideal scenario for this team. All right, we already addressed the wide receiver position. We're not going to be able to really take an edge here that we're in love with. You know, Ajabo, I'm not taking him in the first round if I'm a GM after the Achilles tear. So Devontae Wyatt's on the board. I think it's a tremendous value here in the 28th with the 28th pick. And now we see the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of you guys are not going to like this pick. I know we have constantly seen Jahan Dotson mocked to this team, but that's not where I'm going to go. I think we already have speed. All right. We have speed in MVS. We have speed in McCole Hardman. I know that Jahan Dotson can do a lot of different things. He's great after the catch. He's a great pass catcher himself. But if I'm Kansas City, I want someone who I can view as a true alpha on this team. Who can I really picture as a alpha wide receiver, a dominant X guy that Patrick Mahomes can grow with? And that, for me, is a wide receiver that I'm obsessed with, George Pickens. If it wasn't for the ACL injury, I think he's maybe the first wide receiver off the board. Him and Jameson Williams, for me, would be in contention there. But I think he did a lot with what he was given. Had a 2.1% drop rate in his career. If you look at other guys like Christian Watson, who people have mocked here, his drop rate in his career is over 12%. Whereas George Pickens has an elite drop rate. Better than Jamar Chase, better than Devonta Smith last year, better than almost every wide receiver in this class. He catches everything. Super smooth player. And now we can improve pretty much any other area that we want here. We can go cornerback, which I think could make a lot of sense here with Kyer Elam. I know we don't like taking Florida cornerbacks, but let's not scout the helmet, as they say. And now we have the Cincinnati Bengals on the clock, which we're pretty good in a lot of different areas. But why don't we go ahead and continually prove the offensive line and take Tyler Linderbaum there? He can play guard. He can play center for us. And the last pick of the draft is the Detroit Lions. All right. We can go a lot of different ways here, but I think quarterback does make sense. So I'm going to go Desmond Ridder. I have the 5th-year option. I think Desmond Ridder is someone that's going to go higher on a lot of people's boards than we realize. Him landing here in Detroit, let's see what we got with him, right? I mean, we went Aiden Hutchinson. Now we give Desmond Ridder a really good offensive line, Swift and a good running back, Amon-Ra St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson. We could see a Dak Prescott type rookie year here for Desmond Ridder. So this is my mock draft 1.0. Let me know. Are there things that you don't like? That's okay. Comment down below and let me know. Should I do a 2.0? Maybe.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch
now,
it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.